another segment on time management. A term I don't love, but I'm going to keep using it because we have to use it. Pro tip, do what I'm doing today. Set a timer for 50 minutes during your workday, and at that 50-minute mark, get up and move. You actually, statistically, significantly reduce your chance of heart attack or stroke if you get up and move every hour. Every additional hour that you sit stationary, your risk of a heart attack or stroke increases. So get up and move at least 2 minutes every hour. It's as little as that. That's literally all it takes. It's just that little bit of movement. And I got caught in presentation building mode thinking to myself, I'll eat when I finish this segment. That's ridiculous. Like food is a prize if I work another 2 hours on an empty stomach or a growling stomach, that's craziness. Don't do those things to yourself. More and more, I live by a timer. It's just like when I was a little kid, Mom would say, I'm gonna set the timer. It's like, okay. So now I'm setting a timer for myself. What has the world become? All right, some tangible takeaways. Time is unmanageable. Your energy is not. Accept that balance is unsustainable, right? Do what you can do when you can do it. You know, plan the meal, plan the caffeine, plan the booze, plan the sleep, plan things out a little bit, because just as balance is unsustainable, energy is unsustainable, ultimately. And slowing down and taking a breath is a great move. I hope a lot of you got something out of that last segment, a little bit of pausing and breathing, because here's the thing, smooth is fast. Even though smooth feels slow. Smooth requires focus, right? To be smooth, you've got to be focused in. And like a lot of you, I like to have a set of handlebars in my hands from time to time, and that requires a lot of focus. And on the bike, smooth is fast. It may not always feel that fast, but it is fast. But you can't be hungry, you can't be thirsty, you can't be sleepy, you can't be hungover. I've actually pulled off, and I could get validation actually. If I wanted, I could bring validation up on stage here right now. I've pulled off of the bike park and had a 20-minute nap in a segment, in a breakout section of a run at the Whistler Bike Park. Because I listen to my body. When it says I'm tired, I have a nap. I don't caffeinate when it says I'm tired, I have a nap. You might want to consider that as well. Because as soon as you start to waver, then this happens. And this is not awesome. This is not the moment you want to be having, right? Boom, it all goes wrong. I'm using the biking as a metaphor, obviously. We're still talking about mortgages. You take your eye off the ball, things go wrong. You're not focused, you're hungover, you're sleepy, you're hungry, etc. Don't do that to yourself. Treat yourself, as a friend of mine used to say, like your body is a top-fueled dragster. You only put the best fuel in. You only have the best mechanics work on it. That is like, you are an income-producing, depreciating asset. You want to slow that depreciation down as much as you possibly can, so take care of yourself. And when you really start to accelerate, so there's a different set of handlebars. There's a 50 horsepower motor attached to this one. When you really start to accelerate and you're going at speed, nothing else matters, right? Only that next second, that next tenth of a second, that next hundredth of a second, nothing outside matters. You're just lasered in, right? There is only the task at hand. And this is a file per day. This is you closing 220 files. It's just relentless. It's coming at you, and you've got to be lasered in. You've got to be well-rested, well-fed. You've got to be in the zone at all times. You know, I often think to myself, if I operated with this level of focus, when I'm doing this all the time, life would be great. Imagine operating with this level of focus in a relationship with somebody. Wow. I mean, do it with the clients, but you know, in the personal life, it might be pretty amazing too. The mortgage business moves at this speed though. Like I say, one file a day closing per day, that is an intense speed. When you're in the center of that, you feel like you're in the eye of the storm. And you better be calm, cool, and collected, and confident. Little pro tip, I like this one. I still do it. It's been years now. Click 3 times on the side of the iPhone. I think it's a shortcut I set up years ago, and it goes to grayscale. I don't know if that's a standard shortcut or not. But grayscale is great. I mean, you just look at the difference. Like one just hits your brain like, oh, I gotta react to all these things. And the other one's kind of like, meh. I mean, I guess you could probably get the same effect just like, having an edible or something like that, but grayscale works better for me. Focus starts with a routine, right? A routine and accepting the fact that there will be failures within that routine. You'll fail to master that routine on a daily basis. You just have to, it's okay, right? And by routine, I mean scheduling. And scheduling is invaluable, as schedules are useless. But it's the idea, right? And that's a spin on planning, right? Planning is priceless, but plans are somewhat useless. It's the thought that counts. Recognize it's impossible to actually stay on a perfect routine every single day. Just accept that, but do your best, right? Do your best. That's the key. And being purposeful with your time, being intentional with your time. And ultimately, sometimes, being ruthless with your time, right? There was an incoming phone call yesterday. I really wanted to answer it. I did see it. I just happened to actually look at my phone at that moment. But I was in the zone of going through this presentation, and I needed to stay in that headspace. And I had to be ruthless. And I know what happens when I don't answer most phone calls. 99 out of 100 times, I do get either a text or an email explaining what it was. And that's what happened. About 20 minutes later, I saw the email that explained what it was, sent a reply, sent off another email to another individual to say, like, it's going to be cool, it's okay. Sometimes it hits the fan, and it's hit the fan for this broker. That's what happens sometimes. But, quick side note on this topic. Every now and then, you're going to have a moment where a client threatens to sue you. And in your brain, you're immediately going to go from 0 to 100. You're going to go from, I'm going to sue you, to you're in a courtroom, you're on a stand, you're being cross-examined, like it's like a movie or something, and you're getting hit with some massive penalty and judgment, and it's like ruining your life, and you're going to lose your house, and your brain goes like whoosh all the way forward. Our court system is years. And I have an example of that coming up actually as well that we're going to talk about. I have a conclusion on the letter of engagement story that I've shared with you for the last 4 years running. We actually have a conclusion on that story. And so I reached out very quickly to the person who'd been told by the clients they're going to get sued. And I said, like, don't worry, right? Like, there's a long timeline to this kind of stuff. Don't worry. I got you. We'll have a conversation. I'm going to give them a call tomorrow night once I get through this whole thing. It'll be the first thing I do when I wrap this up tomorrow, actually. And we'll work that out. But I think that I did walk them back from the ledge a little bit, because ultimately these things play out much more slowly. But anyway, as I say, I apologize for not answering that call, and I apologize for not picking up the phone and calling the other party as well. But we will chat tomorrow, and it will all be okay. But sometimes you just have to be ruthless and focused and stay on point. You can't let anything else distract you. So if it isn't written down, it won't happen, right? If it isn't written down, it didn't happen. That's a common saying. If it isn't written down, it won't happen. If it isn't scheduled, it's not going to happen. Schedule, schedule, schedule. And even then, when you schedule it, sometimes it still doesn't happen because life is complicated. So written, when I say written, I mean an e-calendar, right? And schedule some negative space. Like actually schedule not doing things, which again, this is like a complete departure from anything I've ever suggested to people before, to some extent. I mean, I've always had these main dark blue blocks in my calendar. What are these blocks? These blocks are basically Mondays from 8 till 2, no bookings, right? No bookings. I think it almost doesn't matter what business you're in, but certainly as a broker, you should not schedule any meeting for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 on a Monday. This is a bad idea, right? When you're in the broker space, what's happening Monday morning? Everybody went out and wrote an offer on the weekend, right? That's what's happened. So suddenly you've got 3 new offers and 2 people who want a pre-approval and another refi. And Monday morning is go time. And you should not have anything blocked off other than the space, just clear space, so that you can be reactive to whatever's coming at you. Whatever the hangover from Friday afternoon was, you can get back to it, because you'll see in that image, you can see Friday afternoon, right? That's coming up as well. So Monday, no bookings. Friday, from noon on, no bookings. I've moved to a point with Fridays where we have a standing management meeting call every Friday, and I book nothing after that if I can help it. I do everything I can to keep that Friday afternoon completely empty, so that I can tie up all the loose ends. I can reply to all the emails that are still in my inbox from the week and wrap everything up by the end of the day Friday and escape. That's the game plan. And I would very much encourage you to do the same, because what is Friday? Well, it used to be subject removal zone, right? It used to be conditions removal zone. What's a subject? What's a condition? Those things don't happen anymore. By the way, in the West, it's subjects. In the East, it's conditions. So same thing, tomato, tomato. But yeah, I mean, it's not like we have those, but despite the fact that there are no conditions or subjects in offers, I would still suggest you scheduling meetings on a Friday afternoon is a bad idea. Don't do it. Keep that space clear. And really, actually, this is a great question. I think it was Trevor Noah that was doing a little rant on this earlier a couple of weeks ago. Why, like, who started naming weekend and weekday? Who came up with those names? And why did they name 5 of the days weekdays and only 2 of the days weekends? Like, I don't know. Why don't we have a 3-day work week? That'd be nice. And really, you're self-employed. You control your schedule. And that's what we're talking about, is scheduling. So why not try and create an extra day off? And I do know some brokers who've created 4-day work weeks, and they're actually doing quite well with it, which is amazing. I'm envious, right? They've gone from blocking noon on Fridays to just blocking the whole Friday, and they basically take Fridays off. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is napping/meditation. I can't not put this in there. The nap is a crucial time block. So at 3 o'clock every single day in my calendar, there is a block. You can't book me at 3 o'clock Pacific time, generally speaking, because I'm flipping on Headspace, and as you can see, 1,000 sessions later, 459 hours with an average duration of 18 minutes. So 1,000 times for 18 minutes, I have flipped on Headspace and let that little voice, and you can pick a male or a female voice, you can pick different accents, it's actually pretty cool. And I let them talk to me about stress or energy or being calm or sleeping better or whatever. And usually I'm asleep within about 60 seconds, so I actually miss most of it. And then I usually wake up, weirdly, about 10 to 15 seconds before the session ends, almost like clockwork. But that took years to achieve. But whether it's Headspace or it's Calm, you want to have one of these apps on your phone. I mean, even the kids are into it, all right? Even the kids have it figured out. Meditation is legit. And napping is a skill. People say, oh, I can't nap. It's because you're doing it wrong, all right? First off, you got to practice to get good at anything. So yes, Dustin is assigning napping as homework, something you should practice, a skill you should acquire. But it really is how you win. And it does take time to be able to lay down, and I usually lay down in the exact same position, and do those 10 deep breaths, those breaths we were doing earlier, the 4 count in, hold it for 4, and then an 8 count exhale. It's really difficult for me to make it past the 3rd or 4th breath now, and I'm gone. But that took a couple of years. And as you can see by this photo, I started a long time ago. This is like 20 years ago, some quality family time, where I'm like, kids, if you want me to be less grumpy, you guys drink yourself some iced teas, and Dad's gonna have a 20-minute nap. And poof, out like a light, quality time. This was actually kind of funny. I always had a nap jacket, and I had a big fuzzy nap hat that I used to pull down. And my kid just about jumped through the roof when they opened the laundry room door because they thought I was napping on the floor. But it was actually just the clothes curled up. But it doesn't matter. I mean, on a concrete, piece of concrete in the middle of the blazing sun, it doesn't matter. I will sleep anywhere. But it took years. And I'm encouraging you to do this. Like, our natural circadian rhythm says that the nap is a real thing. It just is, and you can't ignore it. Your body dips. Most people go have a cup of coffee. You know what a cup of coffee buys you? A cup of coffee buys you about 40 minutes of mental acuity. So for 40 minutes, you can go acuity. Yeah, mental acuity, you got that. 40 minutes, that's all you get. A 20-minute nap buys you 4 hours. That's a huge difference. An hour after that cup of coffee, you're just a grumpy SOB again. That's no good. Go for the 20-minute nap. Master the nap. You got to figure it out. Sleep masks. There's a bunch of different little tips. By the way, what's the #1 way to damage any relationship? Go home grumpy, right? Be consistently cranky. Don't do that. Get better sleep. Focus on getting better sleep. And here's a little book cocktail for you. So Cheryl, I believe you're tuned in today too. I can't thank you enough for sending me Inner Engineering. This is not a book I would have gone and bought myself, even though some of you might think like, oh yeah, Sad Guru, that sounds like the kind of stuff he reads. I wouldn't have gone and bought that book myself. And it did sit for a while before I got into it. But I started reading it at the same time I was listening to 2 audiobooks. So I was reading a hard copy of Inner Engineering and bouncing from a couple chapters of that to a couple chapters of Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker to a chapter or 2 of Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And what I got out of that book cocktail from these 3 books was an understanding, like a really good understanding, because you got the yogi, you got the PhD, and you got the doer. Like I love Greg McKeown's work. He writes a lot of great stuff. And it was like this perfect cocktail that, as I say, it created this sort of aha moment for me on the importance of, not just the importance of managing your energy, but embracing the ebbs and the flows, and the importance of the rest, and the importance of the food, and all the different things. And I haven't become vegan or anything like that. I'm not quite there. Sorry if you are. That's not for me. But it just made me that much more aware of when. When am I doing these things? How am I doing these things? And how's that playing out? So, as I say, the other key piece to this, rest, right? Sleep is rest. Set an end time for your workday. Just make an agreement. Look, if you get nothing else out of the next 2 days, if you could sit down right now, I mean, you are sitting down probably, if you could take that pen in your hand and write down, I am someone who stops working at. Now, if you're brand new, it might be 10 p.m. You might keep your phone on until 10 p.m. Maybe it's 11 p.m., maybe it's midnight. Hey, that's you. You do you. But if you've been in this business 10 years and you're still taking work calls at 9 o'clock at night, refraining from swearing, you screwed up. Like you've screwed something up along the way. Because if you've been doing this for a decade, damn, you shouldn't have to be working at 8, 9 o'clock. You don't have to work at 7 o'clock anymore. Like 6 o'clock, hard stop, end, right? At the latest, embrace your evenings, right? Embrace your family, embrace the people in your life, or somebody else will wind up embracing them. Like I say, if you don't quit work for someone special, then someone special may be lost or never found at all. Because it isn't even about whether you have a someone right now that you need to, well, I'm single, I can just work all night. Really? You'll be single forever if you keep working all night, right? You got to create the space to either hang on to who you have or create the space to go find someone who you should be with, right? You've got to create that space. So as I say, if from nothing else out of these first few hours, you manage to set an end time and make a deal with yourself. And how do you make a deal with yourself? First, it starts with writing it down. Next step, you want to write that down every single day. Sit down at your desk. I will stop working. You keep breaking that promise to yourself, it bugs you a little bit. You really want to go somewhere with it, make that commitment verbally to somebody else. Make that commitment in writing to somebody else and start living it, right? I did pretty good at this for a while. I mean, the last month has completely gone off the tracks because I got so engrossed in this. It was really going to be easy if it was only 20 of you. You know, I didn't think the material had to be like amazing, but boy, as the numbers skyrocketed, I thought I better create something a little more meaningful, which hopefully I have. So again, key point to wrapping up your day. I'm suggesting 5 o'clock, whether it's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Here is a little technique that I picked up from a gentleman 20 years ago and did not apply until 3 years ago. But I've applied it for 3 years running, and it's pure gold. It was really hard to do, but like anything, constant spaced repetition. Just keep doing it every day. You'll get it wrong some days, and it's embarrassing. But update your voicemail every single day at 5 p.m. And what you're sending out with this message. So if you called me, if you called my phone right now, well, first off, my son's not handing me my phone. It's definitely going to go to voicemail. And what's my voicemail right now? It's what it's been for the past week and a half. My voicemail says, it's Monday, January 17th. Boom, people go, wait, what? Because most voicemail, hey, you've reached the confidential voicemail box, blah, blah, blah. And no one's listening. No one's listening to anything you're saying after that. So you better get their attention right away if you have something you want to say. So my voicemail starts off right now with, it's Monday. It's not Monday. January 17th. January 17th? And you've reached the confidential voicemail box of Dustin Woodhouse, blah, 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 blah. Right? And then walk away from your phone. Because you can do that. You can actually put the phone down and walk away from it. And why can you do that? Because anyone who calls you is hearing that you're returning to the office tomorrow morning. They're hearing that you've left the office for the day. Now again, if you're brand new in the business, don't do this. You know, maybe you do it at 10 p.m., 9 p.m., 8 p.m. You pick. I mean, hey, you do you. Maybe you do it at 5 p.m., right out of the gates. Maybe you say, I'm never working past 5 o'clock in this business ever. If I don't make it, I don't make it. Like, that's cool, right? You got to do it the way you want to do it. But again, if you've been in this business 7 years, 10 years plus, this is pure gold because you're conveying what you need to convey to them, that you'll be back. Don't worry. You haven't gone anywhere. Besides, most people, if they really need to get you, they're going to either power dial or text you, and then you're going to connect anyway, because you probably haven't put the phone down. You probably haven't walked away from it, because we're all just too damaged in our minds now to get very far away from our phones. That's the sad fact. And again, what is the number one way to ruin a good night's sleep? What is the number one way? Right? To check your email before bedtime. Don't do that. There's no percentage in that. This is a horrible idea. You can't fix anyone's problem at 8 o'clock at night, except when you can. All right? Like, never say never. But if you're trying to get control of your life, if you're trying to save a relationship, if you're trying to manage your business and balance all this craziness out, you've got to set some boundaries. And here's the thing. Speaking to the median viewer, you went from 11 million to 21.7. You made $100,000 more last year than 2 years before. Where were you at 2 years before when you made $100,000? Were you happy-ish? Was life okay? I mean, it was a little better because, well, you know, pre-pandemic. But ask yourself, has that extra money fixed anything in your life? Probably not. Probably not. The extra volume is probably actually causing problems in your life. And so you got to draw a line somewhere, and guess what? You're probably still going to do the same volume because work expands to fit the time allotted. That's the reality. That is the reality. I could elaborate, but believe it or not, I won't. Pro tip, for those of you with associates, for those of you with staff, for those of you with clients who love to pick the phone up and call as soon as you send them an email, this is super important. Delayed delivery is your friend. Do you want to do a little work Saturday morning? Do you want to do a little work Sunday morning? Of course. We're going to catch up a little bit on the inbox. I get it. But do you want to interact with somebody at this hour? Probably not, right? And so don't hit send. Pause and think about it. I had a number of emails that I've replied to. They're all delayed delivery until January 17th, 5 a.m. My outbox right now, I think it's got over 50 emails in it. I've replied, I've deleted it from my inbox, it's all good, it's out of my brain, it's handled. These people got my out of office response. They know I'm not back until Monday, and they're gonna have an answer 5 a.m. Monday morning. That's the way to operate. And the other thing is, you gotta be cautious, you gotta be cognitive of who people feel you are to them. Because there are people I might email something to in my world and say, hey, I'd really love it if you could do X. And if I hit send on that email at 7 o'clock Sunday morning, they're actually gonna go do that thing on the Sunday. I do not want them to do that on the Sunday. I want the people that I work with to be unplugged, disconnected, and just enjoying life on a Saturday and a Sunday. I do not want them doing any work whatsoever. So I do my best to delay delivery, all the weekend stuff, and all the Friday afternoon stuff even, to the following Monday morning. Does this person need to know this? Do they really need this update? And is this going to trigger them replying or calling me and slow my little session down here that I've got, my little 7 a.m. Sunday morning window where I'm just gonna try and catch up on my inbox? Delayed delivery, critical. That's why I spent so much time just talking about it. Now, relationships, ultimately, it's all just a balance of accounts, right? It's deposits and it's withdrawals. That's all interpersonal relationships, business or life. We're either making deposits or there's withdrawals. When you send that email to somebody at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning to do something for you, that's a withdrawal. You're making a withdrawal out of that relationship account balance. So you might be better served to just wait until the Monday, until regular working hours, and then it's just regular business. It's not a deposit, it's not a withdrawal, it's nothing. It's like you made a deposit, but they don't know about it.